My take on a few differences between Pride and Prejudice 2005 and Wuthering Heights 2026. Today is Tuesday, 17 February 2026, and here I, Tanis Coralee of Seattle, provide my take on a few differences between Pride and Prejudice 2005 film and Wuthering Heights 2026 film. So this is, each film is based on a classic in British literature. So Pride and Prejudice 2005 film is based on Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, which was initially published back in like 1813, I think. And then Wuthering Heights is by Emily Bronte. In the Wuthering Heights, the 2026 film, is based on a book by Emily Bronte, published initially in 1847. And both are classics in British literature. And so this one, I'm part English by ancestral origins, and they're both about formal courtship. So I was like, oh, this is a good one. This is getting to know, you know, the British, a British part of me in some facet, possibly. So here we go. What I'm going to cover. So in spoilers, I'm trying to avoid, I'm not providing the full stories, and I'm trying to not necessarily provide specifics in some things to preserve the story itself and not provide spoilers. If you want to, feel free to cover your ears at any point. Topics covered are relationship setting, family, female aids, love history of main female, main male romantic interests, approach of main male romantic interests by main female, virginity loss for female lead character, ending. So here we go. Relationship setting, Pride and Prejudice. Living with her retired parents who are clinging on to their daughters while also trying to marry them off. The wealthier the better, so long as it is the right guy. Well, the mom's kind of like out of it, which is kind of captured in Wuthering Heights. It's like, well, maybe the mom really is out of this formal courtship process, so they just she's just killed off entirely. So in Wuthering Heights, the woman grew up with Heathcliff, though he was not her brother. Entered her life about 7 to 10 years of age. That's my musing per the movie. And once grown up and living with her parents, her dad, she takes a fancy to a wealthy man named Mr. Linton. And so in Pride and Prejudice, the female is Elizabeth Bennet. And in Wuthering Heights, it's Catherine. Ooh, I've only seen the movie Earnshaw? So something like that. Catherine. So Elizabeth and Catherine. All right. Family. Pride and Prejudice. So Elizabeth lives with her retired dad, her mom, an older sister, and younger sisters. So it's a very female environment. In Wuthering Heights, Catherine lives with her dad, a lifelong servant girl, a boy who lived with them from at a young age, Heathcliff, but not her brother. Her mom is dead, and Heathcliff was the name of her brother who died, and then I think she referenced the dead sister as well. And so there we go. And female aids, Prejudice, that'd be her mother, her older sister, her younger sisters. Wuthering Heights, a servant girl she grew up with who killed her through neglect. There's a spoiler, it's an interpretation, so I have a point there being a servant girl she grew up with, and from a young age. And she was paid help, but they were like friends even into adulthood. Love history of the main female, Pride and Prejudice, none. She's pure. And there was no male friend in her history. She had all these sisters she was friends with. In Wuthering Heights, none, pure. She had this male friend from a young age that she named Heathcliff, and they were kindred spirits of a type. And of the two, I am more like Wuthering Heights, and my Heathcliff is my Jacob Elordi. My siblings were involved in a lot of social activities growing up, so they weren't really around. So in that sense, Pride and Prejudice is out. So Wuthering Heights would be a better fit of the two. I still haven't had a boyfriend. So in that sense, I'm I'm Wuthering Heights. I've got a, how to say, Pride and Prejudice is prim and proper, and Wuthering Heights can have a little bit of a temper. So of the two, for me, Wuthering Heights, we'll put it that way. Main male romantic interests in Pride and Prejudice. There's one, an upper middle class Mr. Collins who proposes and she rejects. 2, a soldier. I think I previously said Mr. Bingham. It might have been Bingley. There's like a Bingham and a Bingley or something that I think she dates. I have seen the movie and read the book, and I've been like, I don't quite have the intent of the man. It doesn't quite come through with enough solidity to be like they're dating, but I think in her mind she is a one-sided relationship. And who goes on to marry one of her sisters. And then, which is paid by, number 3, a wealthy Mr. Darcy she formerly courts. Ends up with. In Wuthering Heights, there's 1, a boy she grew up with and she named Heathcliff. And 2, a wealthy man, Mr. Linton, she takes an interest in. Approach of main male romantic interests by main female. Pride and Prejudice. So this is kind of perhaps more like society has morphed around this book written or published over 200 years ago. Collision courses for her and the male romantic interests. Yes, for each of them, they're not, I would describe them as kind of like they meet by happenstance. At presentation level, she meets each of these guys through collisions. It's not like she approaches them or she doesn't seek them out and they don't seek her out. Like they initially collide. In Wuthering Heights, she approaches Mr. Linton and Heathcliff approaches her. This one is me. Collision courses. Man, a person would be just so lucky, wouldn't they, to have everything stars align every single time. I'm like, no, I had to put effort in. And so did my man for that. That one, virginity loss for female lead character. Pride and Prejudice, it is implied she loses it to Mr. Darcy after they get married. That's more so in the book, the marriage, than in the movie. But it is like at the end of the movie. For those who are like, it's a cultural norm, right, that virginity loss comes on wedding night. And then that holds true for Wuthering Heights as well. So holding that there, she loses it to Mr. Linton, her husband, and follows up with Heathcliff, implied she takes each guy's virginity. So Pride and Prejudice is just one guy, and then sexual partner in Wuthering Heights is 2 guys, sexual partner. Of the 2, I take all of my soulmates, so I'm Wuthering Heights of the 2. Yeah. And then in the ending, in the ending, Pride and Prejudice, happy ending, gets the love of her life and a life together. So happy ending. And then Wuthering Heights, not so happy. She and the baby of Mr. Linton she is pregnant with both die. She dies with Mr. Linton. While I appreciate it does not feign a happy ending, I chose Heathcliff. I chose my Jacob Elordi. Yes. So I think in terms of like modern society, in terms of having a male friend, Wuthering Heights, that's something I've done. I've actually talked through love with a male friend, which is Wuthering Heights, not Pride and Prejudice. So my love, maybe I should make a video on that, what that was like, having an opposite gender friend that I talked through love with, without ever becoming more than just friends. So that's a Wuthering Heights one. Even if Heathcliff became more than just friends, it's still a male friend to talk through love with, which I have actually done. So that'd be, I'm more of a Wuthering Heights than a Pride and Prejudice in a number of key elements, including temperament from my perspective. So that's my take on a few differences between Pride and Prejudice 2005 and Wuthering Heights 2026.